All right. Hello, everybody. We are a little late this morning. I had a couple of technical issues with my computer. It was being very weird and wasn't opening up, but we are here. We're good to go. Camera set up, audio set up. Hopefully everything sounds good, even though we are 8 minutes late today on this Friday, September 8th, 2023, 9:28 a.m. We are making it just in time for the market open. And honestly, there's a lot of news to talk about going into this market open, given some of the stuff that happened just last night. Let me pull up these charts and then we will get started again. It was the camera wasn't connecting today. It was being weird, but we got it up. We got it set up. Should be good to go. And we are here. Larmo, Max, Monty, Christopher George, Philip Rizzo, Ryan, Garcia, Jared. You said, phew, I need my daily fix. Thank you, man. Thank you, man, for being here. I appreciate you being here. I hate when the equipment becomes stupid, but we are here and we are good to go. Living on Spades, Tom Brady, Miami Ren, Midwest, Cause Why Not, Broccoli Bob, Jason Noto, Kelly, love this outfit so much. Thank you, Kelly, Marvin, Charles Stewart, Joseph, Viegas, Dex, Ray, Victor, Colorblind Collector. That's cool. Dexter, Amit with a bunch of exclamation points. Dexter with a bunch of exclamation points. Thank you for being here. Delu, PL. All right. Here we go. So, well, we've got 30 seconds till the market opens. So I got a lot of stuff I want to talk about, but let's wait until this market opens. Palantir is down a little bit in the pre-market. Obviously, we have a ton of Palantir news that we have to get to. Some NVIDIA news. NVIDIA CEO sold about $42 million worth of shares. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about there. And then some general macro stuff. So let's see once this market opens where it goes. It's obviously a Friday, so we expect some blood continuing on from yesterday. And we'll see where it goes, and then we will get into some of the news. September 8th, 2023, at 9:30 a.m. Being late is better than never. Here we go. The stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Palantir, $15.13 down, 0.54%. SoFi making a nice little recovery from yesterday. It was at 820, now at 854. SoFi continuously staying in this 810 to 850-ish range, really for the past couple of months now, and not falling too much below $8. Tesla at 250, recovering nicely from 244. Palantir 1516. Intel is up nicely today, and UiPath is up about 6%, continuing from yesterday. Their earnings were pretty phenomenal, and they continue to maintain their earnings momentum. S&P 500 fell yesterday from 451 to 445. So obviously the S&P did not have the best day yesterday and really this entire week, as we've seen a lot of market momentum dry up with earnings from some companies go bad and also some macro data come in that's not the best. SPY now at 445, Enphase at 121. Enphase also just got really demolished this past week. I mean, it was making a recovery back into the 130s. You kind of thought, all right, 124 was the bottom, and then it continues to find its new bottom, falling below $120. So obviously we've seen a lot of different stuff fall down. What else do we have here? SoFi at 852, C3 AI 2771, Apple 178. We got a lot to talk about Apple. Yesterday on Finance Junkies, we had a nice little debate about where the future trajectory of Apple is going. Apple right now at 178. Some people are buying, some people are absolutely selling. And that's the beauty of what makes a market. Some people want it, some people don't. Disney at 8034, NVIDIA at 460. So Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, sold about 50,000 shares yesterday. Now, some of them were from options. He was given options at $4 a share. So he paid about $350,000 for his 50,000 shares, or it's like, I think 29 something thousand shares. And he sold all of them for $470. So made a nice little return off the $4 options that he was given. But nonetheless, 42 million shares, $42 million has been liquidated. NVIDIA has zero insider buying in the past 12 months and about $876 million of insider selling in the past 12 months. Now, granted, they initiated a $25 billion buyback, so that is kind of like insider buying, right? Because they're going to be buying back some of the shares, but the individual members have not personally bought back shares. And honestly, they shouldn't, because NVIDIA's getting up there. I mean, why would you buy it at 400 something bucks, right? Google at 136, Celsius passing $200 now at 205. Bitcoin, 25,875. Spotify, 160. Airbnb at 144, continuing its earnings or its S&P 500 inclusion bump. Netflix at 444. Paramount Global at 1312. PayPal, 6144. PayPal and Robinhood, we also have some stuff to talk about from yesterday. They were at a Goldman Sachs conference. What I heard from Robinhood made me incredibly more bullish on the trajectory and, more importantly, the valuation of this company. I mean, Could it go lower? 1000%. But the odds of it, falling to $4 or $5 and this not being a price to start nibbling, it just seems low given what they're doing and given how much bad news is already baked into the company and given where the macro is going and how they phenomenally, I don't even know if that's a word, phenomenally and flawlessly, I just combined phenomenally and flawless, figured out how to deal with high interest rates. They used it to their advantage to such a degree that's better than most companies, quite frankly. And I think Robinhood's well positioned over the next couple of years to dominate. PayPal at 61.32. Some of the Bitcoin stocks are down. Arc Innovation had a great week, up at $44, and I think because some of the stocks that they bought on the dip have gone up, so that's why Arc has been doing well. Amazon at 137. Where's TFC? The regional banking fund is up just a little bit. TFC up at 0.21% at 21.39. Okay, so Palantir at 1552 turns green, up 2% in the first 3 minutes. Let's go to a couple of the pieces of Palantir news that broke last night. I'll have some further videos talking about that in a little bit, and then we'll go from there. So let me just pull this up on their page. All right, so there's two main pieces of news that we have to discuss. This is the first one. AIPCon is going to be on September 14th. Some of you guys may have seen this news last night. And on AIPCon, we officially know what some of these details are. So 30 presentations are going to be happening, which is really awesome. Introduced less than 6 months ago, Palantir AIP is already used by more than 100 organizations. We knew this because of the earnings call. From energy to finance, hospitality to healthcare. AIPCon is going to bring all those people. Customer keynotes, the 6 main keynotes on stage are from CPKC, HCA Healthcare, Sintra, Eaton, Sompo Japan, and Miller's Ale House. I don't know any of these companies outside of Sompo, which is the largest insurance carrier in Japan. HCA Healthcare, I know about them. And then Miller's Ale House has about 100 restaurants, I believe, in the United States, if not worldwide, that are using AIP from a logistics perspective. The other companies I have to look into, and I'll go deeper and try to understand them when I do my video on this. But those are some of the core customer keynotes. And this is good because I didn't want to repeat customer keynotes by like Cleveland Clinic or Jacobs because we already saw them, right? So you wanted some new customers presenting some new stuff. Additional customers such as Intuit, the New York Stock Exchange, Cone Health, Genpact, and more will offer master classes and demonstrations of the use of AIP, offering unprecedented insight into the workflow and capabilities of Palantir's AIP. This one was really interesting. Intuit, for those that don't know, is a public company. I think it's worth about $150 billion. That's a big one using Palantir's AIP. So that one's excited. New York Stock Exchange, obviously that's really cool that the NYSE is using Palantir. Cone Health, I believe I've heard of them before. Genpact, I don't know much about them. I have to go deeper into them. So some pretty interesting companies that are using Palantir's AIP and being able to do what potentially is going to be something really interesting in the world of AIP. The conferences, I'll be live streaming it on my channel. The reason I'm also very interested in the conference is because Karp and Sham are going to be there, really giving even more guidance on what we should be doing when we expect to think about how AIP works in the real world. And as a result of that, should be getting a better understanding of where AIP is going. Now, the next thing we got is a press release this morning. This one I didn't get too much of a chance to read yet, but Palantir has partnered with Policinio Gemini to partner to use AI to advance data science for healthcare. Okay, so reading off a little bit from this, Gemini RRCCS today announced a partnership to implement digital medicine research solutions that leverage artificial intelligence to improve patient healthcare and health outcomes. They're going to be using Foundry as one of the key enabling platforms to manage the full scale and complexity of healthcare data. Foundry's AI capabilities will be used to generate real-world evidence in support of clinical and transformational research aimed at drug and indication discovery. I did a video a couple of weeks ago about Palantir's role with drug discovery and how long they've been using AI to be able to help smaller companies be able to essentially get the formula for what drug discovery looks like. Obviously, Novartis is one of the largest pharmaceutical companies. They're working to be able to do this as well. This is super cool. I have no idea who this company is. I have to do a lot more research into like why, this company is so important and all this stuff. But again, it's another use case of them using AI and Foundry, which is the ontology to even make sense of all that AI, to try to manage the full scale and complexity of what healthcare data looks like. Here's a quote. Apparently, this is a healthcare company in Italy. So that's where the deal was made. The head of Italy at Palantir says, healthcare is transforming through the power of data and AI, and this trend will only accelerate. More and more of the industry is wielding towards this power to discover novel therapies, improve patient care, and increase treatment efficiency and effectiveness. At Palantir, we are proud to support world-leading institutions by providing them with the technology they need. So apparently this is a world-leading institution, this Policigo Gemelli, even though I've never heard of them. And they must be probably much more bigger in Italy. Kelly says, thought you were going to the conference. Honestly, I still might be. Like, this is one of those things where like it's like I have to wait till I get an update. Either I'm going to the conference or I have got an official word that they want me at the conference. The problem is trying to set up a lot of these things when it comes to big companies is it's difficult and it's out of my control. So might be going to the conference, might not be going to the conference. We'll see what happens. If I don't go, quite frankly, I wouldn't be upset because it's a lot to get on a plane and do all that stuff. But I have heard from the right people that they want me there. It's just, again, it's tough for them to kind of figure out how to always try to get that stuff in motion. So if I go, you guys will know. If I don't, I'll be live streaming it, and we'll keep doing it this way. Sachin, thank you for being here. They're a university research hospital, largest in Rome. Interesting. Very cool. They're a university research hospital, largest in Rome. So as you can see, they're not only a hospital, they do academic research to be able to do experiments and tests. And that's probably why, from the academic standpoint and the logistical standpoint, they saw a lot of value in Foundry, and Palantir saw a lot of value in them. Another quote, real world evidence is constantly gaining traction in support of research in healthcare by integrating Foundry in the framework developed at the generator RWE. We aim at accelerating our research pipeline cycles to deliver faster and better outcomes. The value of Palantir software and their deep skills and data-driven innovation will enrich the suite of products and services we are delivering with co-creation products with our industry partners. This is also really good because this is international commercial, which we have not gotten a lot of deals in. The last deal we got international commercial was this guy right here back in April 5th. I know the exact dates because I'm a nerd. Here we go. CNA. Yep, April 5th. Oh, no, sorry. This is May 23rd. Okay, so I was a little bit off on that. But they had another thing on April 5th that I was looking at. This was the H&M from Latin America. This is the last international commercial partnership that I heard of. So it's good to see them expanding a little bit more in international commercial as well. If they really want you there, Amit, tell them to pay your airfare. See, this is a misconception. If they pay my airfare, then technically they're paying me. And then if I make a video about the stock, you see what I'm saying? Like, I was explicitly told they can't pay for your airfare because any compensation they give you, and then you start talking about them in a positive way, the SEC starts knocking on your door. You know that text you can get from the FBI when you like figure out something that you're not supposed to figure? That's basically what happens. So literally I was told, like, if you come, there's no way they can pay for anything because I'm going to make videos about them, obviously. And then there's always going to be, so we'll see what kind of happens. But as of now, I'm assuming I'm not going, even though I was told it is possible. So we'll see what ends up happening. Great to see more traction in Europe. That was a weak spot for earnings. Yeah, I mean, international commercial sucks right now. I'm like, it's just not good. And if they can just find a way to figure that out, there's obviously going to be a lot of growth. Palantir's Alex Karp meeting with heads of state at Estonia and Finland is also incredibly bullish this week because those contracts may not come for the next couple of years, but at least from an international government perspective, it seems like international government, we know the path to be able to solve it. International commercial, we definitely don't really know the path yet, I would imagine, just because, we haven't solved that issue. So if we can find a way to get on the right path, we're going to be in a much better way to solve some of these issues. All right, let's get an update on some of the stuff that's going on in the macro. This is Kelsey Barrow from JP Morgan's Asset Management saying that we are likely skipping September's rate hike. Let's see what she has to say, and then we'll get into some charts.
Kelsey Barrow, JP Morgan Asset Management Portfolio Manager. I'm not going to bury the lead. You think July was it? Won't be anymore.
That is our belief. Yeah, we think that they will skip in September. And as the data comes through, it will be clear that they've done enough.
The lagging effect will become evident by the next meeting.
It will become evident. We think it already is evident.
If you look closely enough, and we're going to go into some of the details you look at. Have you guys ever thought about how lucky we are? We have ready-made news. I mean, the general news are like sitting around, God, is there going to be anything happen? What are we going to talk about? There's a CPI, there's data. And next week, there's all kinds of stuff coming that's going to give us an idea of what's going on. And we're going to be there to report on it.
Absolutely. So CPI and retail sales are the two big data
week,
points next week that we think the Fed is going to be paying attention to. Retail sales to me is a really interesting one because we have seen a lot of strength in the consumer in June and July. You're hearing everyone talk about the Taylor Swift effect, the Beyonce effect, the Barbie effect, the Oppenheimer effect. But what I look at, though, when I see that retail sales data is I see a consumer that's spending beyond their means. Excess savings is being depleted, the savings rate is falling, and credit card balances of consumers are rising, as well as interest expense that they need to pay on those credit card balances is rising.
Have we spent down the COVID excess funds that we've had to this point?
We estimate that we will by Q4. But based on the most recent data we got in July, that's actually happening faster. So what I see is a pull forward of consumption, a really fun summer. I hope you guys had a fun summer. I had a fun summer. But now we're returning to the real world in the fall. Student loan payments are restarting. And as it relates to the Fed, just tying it back here, what we expect is that there is some downside risk to the retail sales report next week. And we're going to see that the consumer had fun over the summer, but ultimately we think that growth and inflation are going to continue to moderate as we go through the second half of the year.
I wasn't going to say anything about her voice. So you guys in the comments that are being a little, I'm not saying anything about her voice. I'm not saying anything, but no, I agree. I agree with what she has to say. Obviously, the consumer has to weaken a little bit, you would argue, going into the latter half of the year, given student loan repayments happening, the COVID stimulus stuff is dying down. And on top of that, just in general, I think she's right that, you know, there was this argument I heard yesterday about like revenge traveling, right? Like people went on vacation just to go on vacation because they were so mad they weren't able to go on vacation over the past couple of years. If that stuff starts to fizzle out a little bit towards the latter half of the year, then obviously, you know, we're going to see a little bit more of a weaker consumer. The question is, does it affect Q3 earnings going into the end of the year, or does it show its face in February when we get Q4 earnings? Going later. She's going to order a macchiato after this at Starbucks, bro. She's like, I had a good summer. Did you have a good summer? I had a great summer. I'm like, bro, what? Like, see, these people don't understand, right? These people that come from JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, you're on CNBC. You're in front of, I think CNBC gets a couple 100,000 people every morning watching these shows. You got to be building a name for yourself, bro. That's why they had that Gabriella chick back on, because they saw the numbers she put up 3 weeks ago, and they're like, we got to get this chick back on. When you show up there and you're, you know, and you talk in that way, it's, I don't know if people want to hear from you again, bro, because these contributors are nothing special outside of the 5 minutes they can give you that offer some value. And if you just say some generic shit, or you say some shit that's just like not interesting, yeah, you're not going to be coming back too many times. Canada's economy added 40,000 jobs in August, beating 20,000 economist estimates. That's a good thing. The fact that they only added 40,000 jobs, though, is really interesting. I mean, the United States is adding like almost 177,000 jobs. So that is a little bit, that's just surprising that Canada only added that many jobs. But they did beat by 20,000 jobs. So that's good for Canada, especially as they were struggling a little bit more with inflation. Now, here's the NVIDIA stuff. NVIDIA CEO just sold $50 million worth of NVIDIA shares. Again, buys were zero, sells were 256 million in the last 3 months. NVIDIA, if we look at it right now, Palantir, by the way, at 1530, up 1.2%. NVIDIA today is 463, up 0.21%. I don't think this sells the biggest deal in terms of a bear case for NVIDIA, because at the end of the day, I think Jensen Huang is worth like 14 or 15 billion, if I'm not wrong. And so 50 million, it's a lot of money, but it's just not that much. By the way, half of that shit is going to the government. So that's the other crazy part. It's like you work your ass off, you get 50 million bucks, and then half of that going straight to Uncle Sam. So it's just not a lot to be concerned that NVIDIA's, you know, insiders are just dumping it. Now, obviously in the last 12 months and last 3 months, there have been zero buys, but obviously when the stock is getting a little overvalued, that's why it's not getting there. Because remember, Canada has a much lower population. Yeah, that's true. I forgot. What is Canada? There's like 40 million, right? Canada population. At 38 million. Yeah, that's true. America does have 330 million. So there's a little bit different there. Dario, thank you for the £5 super chat. I appreciate that, man. Means I believe that's a pound. I don't think that's a euro. I could be wrong, but thank you for the £5 super chat. Means a lot. Dario says Policino Gemelli is the biggest hospital in Italy and one of the biggest private hospitals in Europe, as well as a research center and university. Dario, I imagine, given your last name, Martinelli, you're in Italy, correct? Because given your last name, that seems what it sounds like. If that's the case, and a couple other people in the chat were saying it, that's a big PR. Obviously, I didn't know about this hospital at all, but if that's one of the biggest private hospitals in Europe and the biggest hospital in Italy, that's a big deal. That's a very, very big deal, especially if it could have downstream effects in terms of other countries or other hospitals that it will be able to partner with. I am indeed. See, I knew it from the last name, Martinelli. Martinelli. I love those last names. Those are beautiful. Okay, so the implications of this, and again, I'll do a video going deeper into this, but this is important because if Palantir is able to get the NHS contract, right? That's all of the UK, boom, ka-ching in the bag. Cool. Then you're talking about 13% of hospital beds in the United States. All right, cool. What happens when that goes to 20% by the next, 4 or 5 years? Ka-ching. That's important for healthcare. Then on top of that, you've got one of the largest hospitals in Italy. The downstream effects of that could just be spreading to more and more healthcare administrations, pharmaceutical companies, and ultimately hospitals over the next decade. And healthcare could be one of those biggest verticals for Palantir. What's also really important for Palantir in the healthcare space is drug discovery. And obviously partnering with Novartis and some of the drug companies they've been partnering with, DuPont Therapeutics, I did a video about them a couple weeks ago. They've been in this space for just so long. These supply chain healthcare partnerships they have with companies like Cardinal, making sure hospitals actually have the ability to get their needles and masks all in one place using Foundry. There are a lot of different opportunities for Palantir to be able to do what they have to do. Artist here, thank you for the $4 and our $5 super chat. Means a lot, man. You have to go to the Palantir conference if you're able. It's one of those big optionality type events. Yeah, I mean, guys, what's going on here is CodeStrap himself, right, was informed that I would be going to the event, and he was talking with CodeStrap. CodeStrap knows the Palantir people, and CodeStrap was like, yo, you're going to the conference. The Palantir people told me they want you at the conference. I'm like, all right, cool. He told me this in August. A couple weeks later, he's like, yo, I'm trying to figure it out. It's just really hard because they're just super busy. So the people have to text, blah, 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 blah. And so now it's like 8 days before the conference, 6 days before the conference. I don't know if it's going to happen. Probably not going to happen. But I mean, this is stuff that's expected with big companies, right? It's just not the easiest thing to happen. And he also said this publicly. He was on one of the Palantir weeklies a couple weeks ago, and he, mentioned that he's really trying to get this to happen. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, that's also fine. But it would be pretty cool to go, right? Just to be able to kind of talk to these guys. The reason they wanted me to go is because they wanted me to talk to someone very special at the conference. I'm not going to say who. I don't think I'm allowed to say who. It's not Alex Karp. So let me just put it's not Alex. I'm not getting an interview with Alex Karp, but there is one of the guys there that they wanted me to talk to. So if it happens, it'd be cool. If it doesn't, we'll see whatever happens. TJ the Wheel Deal, $10. Thank you. Thanks for the support. I need to bring my wife onto Team Palantir when she comes. That podcast you did with her yesterday was gold. I loved it. It was super wholesome. So it was awesome, man. Thank you for the super chat. And yeah, that was an awesome podcast you did yesterday with your wife on the stream. Okay, let's go back into some of the charts and we'll see some of the price action we're seeing here. Palantir is up today. I don't know if it's on this press release or more a little bit macro, but this press release definitely is not hurting. Palantir 1549 up 1.82%, now 1552. Tesla 256 up 2%. Market turned pretty green as we get into the open. S&P at 446. Enphase, one of the only, of course, growth stocks that's red right now. You know what Enphase needs to do on their earnings? They need to have an earnings that meets expectations and beats just a little bit to show that it's not an absolute pile of crap. Because if they miss on expectations again, which I hope they don't because they lowered expectations, the stock's going below 100, right? And so they really just need to make sure that they don't totally crap the bed. If they don't do that, I think they'll be in an okay situation. Apple at 180, Google at 136. So let's talk a little bit about Apple. We had a discussion about them yesterday, and then I want to transition to some of the Robinhood, PayPal stuff. What's going on with Apple right now is you've got a lot of people that are shorting it because they believe that the valuation is becoming unsustainable given the growth of 2%. Apple trades at a 28 forward PE. The S&P 500 you could buy at about a 21 forward PE, and you're getting a lot more growth when you buy the S&P 500 versus when you buy Apple as an individual name. To buy Apple, you are buying 2% year-over-year growth. The only real growth is in services, and you're paying $2.81 trillion for the company. You have to be assuming either the Vision Pro is going to set up the next super cycle for the product, or you have to assume that the iPhone 15 is going to sell, 80 to 100 million copies around the world. if one of those things doesn't happen, meaning the Vision Pro doesn't have some level of an S-curve resemblance or the iPhone 15 doesn't sell, then they're not going to grow. Like, it's just that simple. They will still produce $80 to $90 billion of revenue a quarter because they have their existing monetizable applications, but they're not going to grow. And I think in the context of Apple, right, you're buying it for growth at the end of the day. You're not hoping it goes to, 150 and pays a dividend. You're hoping it goes to like 300 in the next couple of years. Obviously, Warren Buffett is also hoping for the same. And so it's hard to justify with the lack of growth. So you have to bet on those existing things that are coming in the future. And the question becomes, do you buy it on the existing things coming in the future? Do you buy it on the iPhone? Do you buy it on the Vision Pro? Because again, it's not like Apple will just go up because Apple will go up. At some point, investors have to see the growth. And on top of that, yes, the China factor is a big deal. I was reading a lot about that yesterday. Huawei released a phone yesterday. Huawei had 19% of market share in China for smartphones back in 2019. Then Trump did the whole trade war, not just the Trump trade war tariffs, but we sanctioned Huawei and some of those other companies from even being allowed in the United States. And then their market share completely fell to shit. So Apple dominated over the past 5 years from that. Then Huawei releases their phone, right? They make their comeback. They sold out. I'm going to try to pull up what the phone looks like in a second. They sold out in like 5 hours yesterday because of how much Chinese consumers wanted it. And then on top of that, China, the same day Huawei releases their phone, they ban iPhones from being used by 40 million Chinese government officials. I mean, like, it's a little coincidental, right? So it definitely feels like China's government is not going down easy, especially with their economy kind of going to shit the past couple of months. They're like, you know what? The biggest company in the world, Apple, is not going to be immune to some of the issues that we have. We're going to support some of our own companies and prop them up, even if it means hurting a company like Apple. You see Huawei right here. This is the phone, the Huawei Mate 60 Pro. This is their phone. It has what is this thing on the back of it? Do you guys see this? Yeah, what is this thing, bro? Oh, this is a camera. I thought it was like a way for them to control the phone. It's $1,500. It's pretty pricey. I think it was like $965 in China. But this is the thing that the Chinese are going crazy over. The Huawei Mate 60 Pro. So Apple's got some more competition now, especially when you can't sell to 40 million people in China. So we'll see, but ultimately I am not a buyer of Apple stock. We had a nice debate on it yesterday. Carlos loves Apple. I think it's because he's emotionally attached to Apple because he's been emotionally attached to Apple for years. But yeah, I've never been that interested in Apple. I mean, I had it at 120. I think it sold at 140 a while ago. So, just not that interesting anymore to me in the long term. It's using an old Kirin chip. Also, a lot of government employees can't buy Apple. Yeah, that's the Chinese ban that happened. Inflation is at 3%. Apple's growing at 2%. Yep. So Apple's growing just enough for us to get under the world of inflation. Let's take a look right here just to get some more explanation for why Apple's valuation has become so lofty to some investors.
Statement from China that all technology is welcome as long as it fits under their regulatory situation. But of course, we're seeing a lot of analysts and other people worry about the impact of a possible ban on Apple. Is this a big deal? Is this something that investors need to be concerned about?
It's definitely a big deal, and it's definitely something investors should be concerned about. Now, what Chinese officials are saying sounds a lot like how U.S. officials refer to Chinese products. For instance, Huawei phones. We talk a lot about how we want these products to adhere to our standards, and then when they don't, we ban them. And now look, China's talking the same game and banning them in state agencies. And there are other reports saying this might come down to other companies that are funded by the state and managed by the state. So this is, potentially tens of millions of people in China who immediately can't use the iPhone, but it actually extends more broadly, right? This is a symbolic ban where China is saying, hey, we have leverage over your companies just like you have leverage over ours. And by the way, we're not afraid to use it.
Right. So and that he's not wrong there at all. He is 1,000% correct on this idea that this is a symbolic ban. China's been going through a lot of bad stuff over the past couple of months. They needed some way to show they are still a top dog. And so they will do it through a communist, ideological, dictatorial, authoritarian manner by banning one of the best partners they've ever had, which is Apple, from being able to sell their devices. We have the Palantir's Jacob Hellberg. Let me share this as well, who is talking a little bit more about the tech war between U.S. and China. Let's get his thoughts.
He is the commissioner of the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission that was created by Congress. He's also a senior policy advisor to CEO Alex Karp at Palantir. And thank you for being with us today, Jacob. Let's talk through this. It sounds like things are definitely heating up. What do you think the implications are?
Well, Becky, it's great to be with you. What we're seeing unfolding in real time is nothing short of a tech war between the U.S. and China. The Biden administration is waiting to get more details on the chemical and composition of this new 7-nanometer SMIC chip. But we're hearing lawmakers from Capitol Hill raise legitimate questions about whether SMIC's Huawei chip violates U.S. sanctions. And the Biden administration has put in place export controls aimed at restricting China's ability to obtain certain high-end semiconductor devices with potential military applications, develop and maintain supercomputers, and manufacture advanced semiconductor devices. And what Huawei's breakthrough chip shows is that export controls will slow China, but it won't permanently stop China from making advances. And that's okay, because ultimately artificial intelligence is a race between the US and China.
What's the result of that tech war, though? Does it mean that the U.S. market is closed off to Chinese companies and the Chinese market is closed off to you, or going to be closed off to U.S. companies?
It basically means that in areas of advanced computing that have significant spillover effects on the development of artificial intelligence and things like large language models, which have potent military applications, we are going to see a bifurcation into a Chinese-led technology world and an American-led technology world. The US and China are in a race for global leadership in artificial intelligence. The leadership in Washington and Beijing both understand that AI is the single most consequential breakthrough, paradigm-shifting technology in military affairs in 80 years. And China views AI as central to leapfrogging, to use their term, US military capabilities, particularly in the Indo-Pacific. And while the US still leads the PLA in aerial applications of AI, the PLA is highly competitive in computer vision and underwater autonomous drones.
Speaking of Palantir and AI, obviously what he's saying is absolutely correct in terms of how the US and China are basically in a tech war for dominance on AI. We got some other breaking news last night that came in. IBM and Palantir are going to join the AI safeguard effort pushed by President Joe Biden. So back in July, Biden signed a deal with Microsoft and Alphabet, Google, to be able to essentially symbolically say that when we implement AI systems, trust and safety is going to be at the center of the most powerful AI adoption plan. So there's nothing written in stone, but it's kind of like this idea that once AI becomes mainstream, companies will commit a disproportionate amount of resources to trust and safety. And obviously, Sam Altman and Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, they wanted to be able to do this. The approach is especially important for the so-called frontier models that the companies have agreed to allow third parties to probe for vulnerabilities. The White House's focus on AI shows both the importance of a technology that promises to reshape the global economy and the limits of what the administration can do without congressional action. Obviously, we don't know if Congress is ever going to really regulate AI because they can't agree on anything. So they can barely agree on how much debt we should have for the country. So it's important for the executive action to be taken here. Palantir, IBM, Adobe, and Salesforce are joining President Joe Biden's voluntary commitments on AI. The reason this is important for Palantir is because I feel like they've been snubbed a bunch of times from the White House and some of these AI discussions. It is incredibly important that if regulation is happening in Washington and there is some form of public policy that is being shaped, that Palantir has their fingers in those deals, or they're at least consulting or being consulted with to be able to get the right policies out there, right? Because you don't want policies that are counteractive. I mean, one of the biggest examples of this is Karp pushing for defense spending to go like even just a percentage higher to software. If they can get the ear of the president to believe that software defense spending in the context of AI is incredibly important, we're talking about another $20-30 billion going into that space, potentially Palantir capturing 5, 10, 15% of that. So it is a good idea that Palantir is joining this AI safeguard effort. And you want Palantir there. If they're one of the AI leaders, you want them to be included in these types of discussions. The last bit of news, and then we'll end it out with word of the day on this beautiful Friday morning, is, and I don't know if you guys saw this yesterday, Alex Karp was named one of the top 100 influential leaders in the world of AI by Time Magazine. So Time Magazine puts out their 100 list of a bunch of different categories. Alex Karp was named one of the top leaders. And the list is actually really interesting if you go right here. So they have leaders, innovators, shapers, and thinkers. Now, to be honest, okay, I had a bad feeling Karp might be in the thinker section because, you know, he's philosophical and he thinks. And I was like, damn it, if they put our boy in the thinker section to me is basically the kids that get chosen last on the football team at gym practice. You know what I mean? It's like you're a thinker. It's like you're not really doing anything. You're just like, anyway, I'm a fucking AI thinker. I'm thinking all day. I'm on YouTube. I'm thinking. You know what I mean? Like thinker is just like, who do they even have in thinkers? Do we know any of these people? Come on. Do you know any of these? Like, no. Who are these guys? Like, no one knows any of these people, bro. Like, they're thinkers. No one knows. Now, if you go to leaders, boom, Big Daddy Sam Altman. Like, that's a guy. Like, come on. That's an important guy, right? You got Elon Musk. You got Reid Hoffman. You got Mark Andreessen, Greg Bachman, the co-founder of OpenAI. And then there you go. You got Alex Karp. So I'm very happy they put him in the leader section because he is unequivocally a leader when it comes to AI. And I'm happy he's not in like the thinkers or the shapers. Like, what the hell is a shaper? Do anybody know? Do we know anybody? The shapers here? You guys know these? No one knows these. Like, honestly, no one knows 100 people in AI, but on the leader side, we do. Even in the innovator side, none of these people, none of these faces are recognizable. Leaders is where we need it to be. So it's really good for Karp to make that list, obviously, because it just puts Palantir on another level in terms of brand recognition, but also the CEO of one of the largest leading AI companies should be getting this type of recognition for some of the work that they're doing in the context of AI. So it's important. Some people are saying this list is BS. Look, the one selling point about Time is that they're a media company that was bought out for $190 million by Salesforce co-founder Mark Benioff. They're not similar to me like the New York Times or Washington Post. Time, from my understanding, has never been super right or left. They've been just like, we want to highlight cool stuff that's going on in the world and do investigative journalism around that stuff. So these lists, whether you like it or not, are important. I mean, the far majority of people respect these lists. And so we can always criticize the list however we want, but you always want to be on the list versus not be on the list, just given how human psychology is. So it's good that Alex Karp made that list, and it was important. Shapeshifter, basically. Where's the list? Just type in Time 100 AI on Google, and you'll get the list. It's on their website. Okay, last thing for today, the word of the day. Here we go. Let's get into it. Word of the day for today. Sartorial.
Sartorial.
Of or relating to clothing or a style or manner of dress. Her sartorial choices were always impeccable as she effortlessly combined different fabrics and colors to create stunning outfits. As a stylist, he was known for his ability to transform his clients' wardrobes, enhancing their sartorial confidence and helping them express their personal style. Okay, I have zero sartorial confidence in my ability to dress. In fact, because it's Friday, here's what I'm going to show you guys. This is what I'm going to show you guys right now. We are heading to a picture that I haven't seen in a long time, but you guys are going to flame me once you see it, but that's okay because it'll make the point around my sartorialness. So I've never been able to dress. I mean, this is just like a fact. I knew I've never been able to dress my whole life. I've sucked at dressing. My mom laughs at me because I try to pick out an outfit and she's like, bro, this just doesn't match. Like, no, this is not it. So this is the first time in high school I tried to match. I tried to like come up with a cool outfit. Look, the way I'm going to pose in this outfit, you guys would think I'm like, I'm like the guy. But I'm just warning you, this is the outfit, okay? This is me thinking that I'm the guy. Are you guys ready for this? Here we go. This was my sartorial choices. All right, here we go. This is from the Facebook days. So as you can see here, I've got the black socks, right? Know what I'm talking about? Black mid-top socks. Then we got the Kobe sneakers, blue and black. Then we have the cargo military shorts, because I guess I thought cargo looked good. Then we have the blue, white, and red cardigan that for some reason I thought matched with the cargo shorts on top of a red and blue shirt that doesn't match with the cargo shorts. And then we got a black and white Spurs hat on top of that. This was me freshman year. The sweater is swagged out. Thank you, Warren Puppet. So in my opinion, to my defense, I got this from H&M. And I was like, yo, this is the swaggiest fucking cardigan ever. I wore this cardigan to death, bro. I wore that shit till it like I wore it for like 2 years straight. So I love that cardigan. This is what when I get clothes, I actually try to wear them. Like I don't just leave them in the closet. And I thought this cardigan goes with everything. And I posted this picture on Facebook, like I'm the guy. And from all the comments I got a couple of years later, it was very evident that I was not the guy. I was not him. So at least that's not a dull look. Thank you, June. That's not a dull look. That was the point. That's fresh as see. You guys appreciate it now, and that's why you see me wearing gloves sometimes, or I'll have a scarf during the show. Like I like being eccentric with some of the outfits I wear. Even this blue blazer is probably not supposed to go on this type of shirt, but you know it is what it is. And so I think I have a very sartorial understanding of clothing. Kelly says that looks nothing like you. That was what 2015? No, that was 2012. That was how many years ago? 8. That was 11 years ago. Time has flown. 11 years ago. Looks like he's about to take your girl. Yeah, that was the goal. That was absolutely the goal. I think that's a fresh fit. I'm happy you guys like it because in high school, people thought it didn't match, but I thought it was okay. So, all right, that's it for me. Thank you, everybody. We'll have SoFi Weekly tonight at 10 p.m. We'll have Palantir Weekly tonight at 11 p.m. Obviously, we have a lot of stuff to talk about on Palantir Weekly, so make sure you are there. I'll have a video coming out later today on Palantir's AIP conference and the implications of that now that it is announced. And that's pretty much it. Thank you all for being here every single day. Early in the morning means the world to me. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you all later tonight. Bye, everyone. Have a good one. Good night.